Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Sword and Tea, a TTRPG chat show where we talk to game designers, game creators, artists, musicians, all wonderful people in the TTRPG space that make the TTRPG space all the more wonderful for it. Today, I'm joined by Lyme, who is the game designer of Dawn of the Orcs, a really interesting game that I'm really looking forward to talking to and about. But before all of that, I do want to say that I am Derek Sword. I'll be your host for this. I am the sword half of Sword and Key, and yes, Sword is my real last name. This is awesome. No, you can't have it. Uh, I should say that you can find all of Sword and Key stuff at beacons.ai/Sword and Key. If you yourself are a TTRPG creator in any way, shape, form, feel free to reach out to us if you would like to be featured on a Sword and Tea as well. Whether you have a game you would like to promote, a project you are looking at, or even Kickstarter that's coming up in the near future, we always love to chat. Coming in the new year, our Sword and Tea is going to be a little less frequent, probably about once a month, whereas we've been doing some back-to-back-to-back stuff. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't still love to talk to you. Also, as you're on beacons.ai/Sword and Key, you can find our email there if you want to send us that kind of stuff. Or if you're looking for some discount codes, we've got some great ones there for our affiliates. We're affiliates with Hit Point Press. They make Griffin Saddlebags and Humblewood and animated spell cards and tons of stuff. We have an affiliate link for them. We're also an affiliate with with Eldritch Foundry, who make custom minis. You can use code Sword and Key for 10% off your first purchase, or you can use our affiliate link if you are going to be doing a 3D printing. You can actually get an STL license for 3 months for $19.99. It's a pretty good deal, so check that out. We're also affiliates with Long Dog Dice. Gems Long Dog Dice makes incredible dice sets. You really can't go wrong. And just in case there is something on her site that is close but not 100% there, she does have forums back open for custom dice sets, which is pretty cool. So if you're going to be purchasing from Jen at Long Dog Dice, use code Sword and Key for 10% off your first purchase. Also, as you're looking on our beacons, you can some of our charitable organizations. We always have links up for those. Some games that feature on this channel are specifically in support of. Currently, we have our Monday game supports Trans Lifeline. Our Sunday game supports World Central Kitchen. But we have some evergreen charitable organizations as well with Canadian Campaigns for Independence and Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. So check all those out. You can also see our socials and everything else like that, but I'll talk about all that at the end. In the meantime, I do want to say that this is our Cozy Chat Show. Questions are welcome in chat. If you are watching this later on YouTube and you can't post them to the Twitch chat, you can always post them to the Sword and Key Discord. Links again on the beacons. You can post. We have a dedicated channel on our server for Sword and Tea where you can ask questions about game design or about specific games that we have chatted about, and we can get those questions over to the game designers, creators, whoever they happen to be, get those answers for you as quickly as possible. All that said, we're here to talk about Dawn of the Orcs, but we're also here to talk about you, Lyme. So again, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. You are the game designer of Dawn of the Orcs,
Yes.
which I did have the great pleasure of reading through. I really appreciate that we can chat about this. I am a big fan of Orcs,
Nice.
but before we delve into that, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. So, what is your experience with TTRPGs? When did your
Yeah.
journey with gameplay begin? And then how did you get into game design and writing?
Yeah. So the perennial first question, how did you get into RPGs?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I was very much into H.P. Lovecraft. And I found all of his works on, like, I think it was on Wikisource. It's all on Project Gutenberg. I read them all, and then I was like, okay, where else do I go? So I found yogsouthwith.com was like the big internet forum for discussing Lovecraft at the time. Um, and everyone there was talking about this game called Call of Cthulhu. In fact, they spent much more of the forum talking about the game Call of Cthulhu than about the actual, written fiction. So I got interested in Call of Cthulhu, and at that time you could get a free download. You could download a free quick start of the rules from the Chaosium website. It was like 20 pages long and had the bare basics. And you could get, it had one free adventure at the end. So I was involved in being online around Call of Cthulhu through high school. And then when I got to college, I tried to get into some RPG groups, had some really bad experiences with D&D games and finally said, you know what, forget it. I'm running Call of Cthulhu for whoever wants to show up. Come on down. At that time, Dennis Detwiller had some pretty decent Delta Green adventures up for free on his website, which is at that time was not a separate system. It is now, but you can run one and the other. It's not a big deal. So um, I ran some college friends through like early Call of Cthulhu adventures and some Delta Green stuff, The Haunting, Music from a Darkened Room. I think there was one really great night where we were just up, till like 2 in the morning playing through puppet shows and shadow plays. Made some good friends there. That went really well. So after that, I started listening. I think near the end of college, I started listening to actual plays like the scene's changed so much. Role-playing public radio is still around. Like Jankcast isn't, iPodcast Magic Missile isn't. I think Cult of Tea and Dice might be. Fandible's still around. But I started listening to a lot of the, actual plays, which at the time were sort of regular people around a kitchen table, with the tape recorder, and you can hear them opening sodas and rustling their chips and all that. And a very, I thought it was a great way to get experience, get experience with what it's like to run for real people.
Yeah.
So I generally got interested in role-playing games, for after that I just played as many games as I could. I always say my favorite game is the one I haven't tried yet. So
I love that.
yeah. And then I think what really got me into design was I kept seeing people complaining about Call of Cthulhu being like such a rules-heavy, complicated game that you needed to read a 400-page book for. And I was like, well, when I played it, it was 20 pages. So, and we didn't need all of them. So I put out a game called Fear and Panic, which was basically my take on a Call of Cthulhu style system in 4 pages. And I just put it on itch for free. And it got pretty well received there. And then I was like, well, now I'm designing games. What do I really want to do? So, I had this like big traditional dark fantasy orc role-playing game planned, and I was like, well, let me do a little like artsy indie prequel game where you figure out what kind of orcs you really are. And that turned into Dawn of the Orcs, which was the first like big commercial release that I did.
That's awesome. And I mean, for being your first, you've definitely done a lot with it from what I've seen. I use bonus content, and you sent me a couple of, or at least a link to a blog as well, which I had the pleasure of reading. So when was Dawn of the Orcs originally created? Do you know about what year?
Yeah, so I want to say, so Dawn of the Orcs was written. So we can get to this later, but a bunch of other ideas that I'd had sort of came together at once, and I wrote quite a lot of it. Like I stayed up, I just didn't sleep one night and like wrote for like 6 to 8 hours straight, and had quite a lot of it done then. And that was early 2024.
Okay.
And then I did play testing. Basically, I want to say spring through summer 2024. I did a lot of play testing. And then I launched the Kickstarter in fall of 24, and I almost delayed it, but the thing with Kickstarters is you can't launch a Kickstarter in November, December, January, or February because everyone's either busy with the holidays or they spent all their money on the holidays and don't have any more for to back Kickstarters.
Right.
So like I launched it right up to the wire, basically as late as I could have, because I didn't want to wait 4 months because who knew what my life was going to happen in my life, and it was a good call because I probably would not have made it. So I launched the Kickstarter. Then I had the game written, and most of the art and layout done before I even launched the Kickstarter, which not everyone gets to do. That's a luxury, but I was able to have that. So the day after I want to say like the day after the Kickstarter closed. So this would have been December 2024. I like sent everyone out a first PDF that was like, here's your game. Don't tell me don't tell me we don't back here, right?
Yeah, you delivered. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we got physical copies to people. I want to say we got like a final draft because I had to get people had backed at a tier that meant, they got a thank you by name in the back of the book. And that was the thing that slowed it down most, was getting those names in. But I want to say we got even those out to people like a final PDF by Christmas 24, and then we shipped out basically throughout the spring of 25. It's not a huge book. There's a lot. It's not a enormous game. There's a lot to be said about doing a small, manageable project that you can fulfill and have a good time with.
Absolutely. And well, I think the nice thing about it, not to delve too heavily into this yet, but I think most people who come to TTRPGs have some concept for what an orc is. It might not always be the same thing, but like I think that's the nice thing is you didn't have to get like super into okay, let's talk about what an
Yeah.
orc is, but you got to subvert the expectation. So to that, um, I always like to ask, elevator pitch for people that might be coming to Dawn of the Orcs for the first time. What's the thing that you tell people when they're approaching the game for the first time? What are they getting themselves into?
So imagine a game where you play the scientists working on the Manhattan Project, but instead of a bunch of physicists building nukes, you are wizards building Urukai.
Okay. All right.
I
Pretty
can't
great.
I can't quite take credit from that. I got that from the owner of a game store who told me that was his best pitch for selling the game. So
That's really great.
that's pretty cool.
Uh, yeah, one of my favorite scenes in Lord of the Rings was the creation of the Uruk-hai, the Uruk-hai themselves. That depiction was very hardcore. I was a big Lord of the Rings kid. So I guess to that then, when it comes to inspiration and like I said, you did send me a blog post which kind of
Oh yeah.
addresses this as well. The orc is not this super ancient mythological. It's not a mainstream mythological creature.
Yeah.
It's something Tolkien kind of pulled from, but kind of made his own. So we really didn't have a concept of an orc, it properly until the 20s, maybe even then the 30s or the 40s. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
it didn't really, yeah, it didn't really fully form. And even then, it's been growing ever since because. Like orc and goblin is almost used synonymously sometimes in the books, and sometimes it's not. So what were some of your inspirations to kind of build Dawn of the Orcs and maybe even subvert some of the expectations that people had with the fantasy trope of the orc, which is so well ingrained now.
Yeah. I wish I love that you mentioned about how like historically sort of new they are, because there's a I wish I'd brought like a photo to hold up as a prop. There's a review from, it's some famous paper, almost like the New York Times or Life magazine, of Lord of the Rings from the 1950s. And the cartoonist has drawn the scene of the characters fighting orcs in Moria. And
Hmm.
the orcs are bird creatures. Like they're these
Yeah,
like they got these giant beaks and feathers, and they're look yeah, it's hilarious. Also like imagine Gandalf is like a New Yorker cartoon, just be with the
absolutely. Yeah, that was something that
yeah,
Tolkien, not to derail the question, I literally
yeah,
just asked you, but like Gollum isn't really described at all, which is why you get so many depictions of Gollum throughout like all the
yeah.
cover art, and but yeah, the orcs are sometimes their
So
pigs or their birds or everything else. But yeah, your inspirations and how do you
yeah.
subvert those?
So people read a lot of different things in, and I'll, so the quick pitch when and I think when you're dealing with these sort of primal stories, right? The story of bringing a creation to life, right? That's a very ancient one. Shoot, I should have the one myth. It's the sculptor whose statue comes to life and they fall in
Oh,
love, right?
the Gollum.
No, no, not the Golem. So the Golem's more recent. The
Okay.
Golem's a medieval Jewish one where you
Right, right,
build
right.
a. I mean, the Golem comes in two, right? The Golem is your community is threatened, so you build this statue empowered by learning and
Yeah.
education, and it defends your community. And I've anecdotally heard that's also sort of was one of the things that inspired superheroes and Superman, right? This idea of like a superhuman figure who protects your community
Yeah, both
from
created by Jewish creators, Superman and
yes.
the Golem Prague. Absolutely.
Yeah. You also have like the Myrmidons. I forget which Greek hero it is, but who basically said like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Through the dragon teeth down. Is that
yeah,
Cadmus, maybe? I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, there's another one where it's like the ants are turned into them, but
Right, right,
um,
right.
so like that's an old story. Is that creating it's old, but it's not super common, really, right? There's not that much mythical precedence. When I see orcs in Tolkien, I see and plenty of other people have had this. This is not a revelation. I see the horrors of World War One that he personally got to experience, right? They are these, they are not happy creatures. They are not healthy creatures, right? They are creatures who very much show the scars and the injuries of what it is to be this um, industrial military working, working for overlords who do not care about their health or safety in any way, right?
Yeah.
Um,
They're
now,
the antithesis to the elf, the opposite of nature, that what happens when war does twist you and you can't ever come back from it. Yeah, absolutely.
and Tolkien himself doesn't. He doesn't like thinking or talking about orcs. He put them in to be his bad guys. He'll write forever about elf languages, but he doesn't want to. And I think often we're most honest when we are talking about the things we don't intend to talk about, right?
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot of sort of honest reflection of the horrors of a mechanized world there. And I think, I think a lot of creators go in completely the wrong direction after that. I think you see, Warcraft is maybe the biggest example of like, we're going to make them green and we're going to make them bigger than people and they're going to be bodybuilders and they're going to be natural. They're all going to be Conan the Barbarian and they're going to live, be misunderstood nature people. And I'm like, you're going the wrong direction, like
Mm.
and I'm not going to get into other people have done it way better than I can, all the problems with that, but I also think they're just missing the meat, right, of what's interesting. So one of the big inspirations for Dawn of the Orcs was actually not from a fantasy source, but I've played a lot of Black Crusade, which is a Warhammer 40K role-playing game, and you play these chaos or aspiring chaos warlords, right? And in the setting of 40K, like everyone has some kind of like synthetic people to fight wars for them. Like if not a dozen different, like there are space orcs in 40K who are these sort of they're these fungus creatures and they were built to fight a war by a species that they didn't kill their creators. Their creators just lost the war and died, but their weapons live on to fight forever in their absence.
Mm-hmm.
And humanity has like 10 different, fate. Like they got their Krieg clone troopers. They're called the Death Corps of Krieg. They got their Space Marines who are their poster boys. They got their assassins. They got their I'm not going to start listing 40K terms, but anyway, everyone in there. There's like you could write a book just listing names of synthetic people made or augmented people made what to fight wars with in there. And of course, in Black Crusade, where you're these aspiring warlords, we sit around, the table in our games, and you say, well, I want to do this too. I want to make a bunch of cyborgs or demons or mutants or robots to be my minions. And there's not really rules for that in the game. The game has great rules for flamethrowers and suppressing fire, and even for your own character mutating and twisting over time, but not for that kind of making your people play. And so I was like, well, how do I make that happen? And also, how do I make that happen not as a like year-long campaign, but in a fun experience that people are going to do in 2 hours? That you and your friends going to get together around the table. You're going to make your homunculi, and it's going to be done. And you're going to have this grand epic story to tell. And then maybe you can use that to go on and be a setting for another campaign that you want to write.
That's awesome. So, with the concept of the orc then moving into Dawn of the Orcs, and again, like you were saying, orcs, the slight mythology of them, they're kind of mentioned. I believe it's in Nordic myth where they're just kind of like demons, sort of. And then Tolkien kind of ran with that and made them into the twisted, tortured versions of elves, the opposite of elves by the Dark Lords, and then like I said, Warcraft, and then Warhammer. And personally, I love orcs in Warhammer. I love the WoG. I love that they can anything they believe hard enough just becomes true. And beyond that, you've got just every iteration of them has been so vastly different. I'm wondering if you read, I'm trying to remember who wrote it. Stan Nichols, he wrote a novel called Orcs. I think it actually became
I
a
have not.
series. It was
Yeah.
Orcs First Blood. It's it's pretty okay.
Yeah.
I have a tough time recommending it because it is, I'm pretty sure, just his D&D campaign that he put into novel form. But it is interesting in the sense that like the protagonists are orcs, and it does depict them from like the protagonist standpoint, and they're still like very much still not really the good guys. They have their flaws. You're still working for
Yeah.
an evil like person, sort of, but then not. Um, but it was definitely, it has a really great graphic novel, which I recommend
Yeah.
more than maybe the book itself. But yeah, so many iterations then to get to Dawn of the Orcs then. So where do orcs stand in Dawn of the Orcs? Maybe talking about
Okay.
setting
Yeah.
a little
All right.
bit.
People want to
Where do
talk
they
about
come
the
into that?
game. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, well,
so
that's what we're here for.
yeah,
Yeah,
you want to hear what the game is like when you play it. Yeah.
let's do that.
So they are whatever you want them to be. But actually, yes. So the way the game starts is, um, you are the sort of wizards or mad scientists or engineers or librarians or generals or whatever from who have been called together in a council to make the first orcs, right? Your country, which is uh, the text. If you believe everything in the text, you are definitely the good guys, right? You
Hmm.
are in the beautiful, peaceful, idyllic country, and of course you can change that if you feel like it. But you're in the beautiful, idyllic, peaceful country that's getting invaded by this huge outside force, and no one knows how to fight a war. So find the smartest people and have them just make people who can fight. That'll fix everything, right? So you get together and over, you decide, okay, you say we've got to make an army out of magic, basically. How are we going to do that? Um, and your first big choice is saying, okay, are we going to just absolutely make homunculi out of raw materials, out of mud or blood or steel or whatever you have around? Or are you going to take existing people and turn them into orcs, right? Because those are two different options. And that's your first choice. And you describe how it's done. Every choice you make has mechanical consequences, though. So you're not just sort of creating in a vacuum. You will have trade-offs each time. So you can be playing. Often at a table, you'll have one person who's like, "That sounds like the coolest option. Let's just do that." And you'll have another person who goes, "Hold on, guys. I want to win the war, and I think this might be the right strategy." There's a couple strategies that I would say are better or worse for doing well in battles, although it's, you are there to tell the story, so it's okay if you lose the whole time. It just makes it a really sad story. And yeah, over the course of the game, you as your characters decide what sort of people you are building. And then as your choices pile up, you get a clearer and clearer picture until by the end you have this really original, distinct set of orcs. And you also, have kind of picked the cultural traits that they've begun to develop as a result of the way you've made them and the things that you have been sending them to do.
So so players are playing sages then, or the wizards,
Yeah.
the scholars, the scientists that are making the orcs. I do like the implication that if you believe everything you read, which
Yeah.
I always love an unreliable narrator in that.
Yeah.
Um, this it feels very, and I've just did a whole bunch of research on Frankenstein, so
Oh
but
yeah.
it does feel very Frankenstein in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, which maybe even something you said earlier that like you had this concept and then wrote it all in one night, which is
Oh
how
yeah.
Frankenstein was written. You,
Yeah.
you had a very Mary Shelley moment,
Yeah.
so I also appreciate that. Um, so making the orcs then to stand in defense or perhaps offense, but they don't have an army. They need an army. We need to put one together. What does character creation? Is there character
Yeah.
creation in
Um,
Dawn of the Orcs?
well, technically, yeah. So basically, you just write down your character's name and who they are, and that's it. And it's up to
Okay.
you to come up with the rest. There is a table to give examples, and most people tend to use the table, and I think it sets the tone very well for who you are. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of the table of examples includes some. It's like a 3D10 roll table. I got it here. Yeah, so you pick a descriptor and expertise in the title, and you don't have to use it. You can come in and say like, "Hey, I've always wanted to play, a Bone Witch, so I'm playing the Bone Witch." Um, but you have a nice mix of things that sound like people you'd really want on the Wizard Council, and also people who show that you're things that show you're kind of desperate. Like descriptors include like court and high and dreaded, but also like assistant and self-appointed and honorary. So like someone might roll up like I am the renowned hierophant of the Grand Academy, and someone else shows up and like I'm the self-appointed general of the West, and you're like,
Hmm.
no one else knows how to fight a war, so I pretended I did,
Hmm.
and I'm going to give you all great advice. So you get that little mix in there. But you can also just make up whatever. It's very much. Oh, and you pick a secret motivation as well. There's six secret motivations, or you can come up with one, and that can help give you some idea of what to pick when you're deciding on things.
Huh,
But really,
so
the whole game is a character creation game, right? It
that's
is your
true.
character
Yeah,
creator for your orcs that you're going to have.
absolutely. Um, which I always love. I feel like this game is enough to stand alone. I think that it has a really fun concept, but I also love games that can like puzzle piece together to create something else as well. Because
Mhm.
there's absolutely games out there which might feature an army but don't have an army creator
Yeah,
quality to them. So I really like that when certain games can like, oh, we're gonna play this game today and this game maybe next time, but also they're going to be part of the same
yeah,
storyline. And I feel like a lot of people, especially people that are tired of D&D or tired of some of the bigger games or really look to more indie games, really try to do a lot of one shots, but then those one shots can often be completely disjointed from one another, and
yeah.
it's not a bad thing, but I also really like when they can have a
There's
cohesion.
a shout out.
Yeah.
There's a podcast called I think the Coffin Club. It's an actual play
Hmm.
podcast, and they actually did I guess you call it a whole campaign telling the story of this country, and they did it by stringing together a bunch of different storytelling games that tell different bits. So I think they started with Dawn of the Orcs, and then they followed with I think it's called like Tower or something. Or anyway, you can look up
Yeah.
the Coffin Club and see the series. I've I don't have time for it, but I would love someday to like work on an anthology where you got there's a person I know who wrote a game called Back Again from the Broken Land, where you're playing like the little people traveling back from having defeated the major villain and like ended evil for their age or whatever, and they're
Hmm.
like mellow, or what's the word for sad and happy at the same time, like
Oh,
melancholically.
melancholy. Yeah.
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 Yeah, their journey home, and I'd love to be like, okay, we're gonna play Dawn of the Orcs, and we're gonna make all these problems in this world, and then we're gonna find some other game that's like, I know there's another game where you play the first party of heroes that failed to defeat the evil and how that
Hmm.
goes, and then like, yeah, just chain them together and tell your whole. Because one thing with your a lot of your D&D games is you might have 10 sessions, but there are people out there who play that 2 year game where they get that like grand epic political game and fantasy trilogy epic, and they go from zero to hero, and by the end they've saved the world. But a lot of games, it's not a thing that's actually that natural to storytelling. I find that with trad RPGs, doing like an episodic 6 part story is much feels much better.
Hmm.
So to get that kind of grand storytelling, I think building games that say, okay, we're gonna tell this grand story, can be really rewarding.
Absolutely. I would maybe throw it in the quiet year in between everything, just to,
Hell yeah.
yeah, such a. But yeah, when it comes to sage motivation, we've got like prove my field of study is the most valuable, be remembered as the savior of the land, protect the people. Like again, like you were saying, everything is hero coded, even if it's the path to hell is paved with good intentions,
Yeah.
perhaps, because at the end of the day, you are making an army, you are engaging in war. Is that is that a valorous thing? Maybe not. But I do like that So Chaos, Discord, and
Yeah.
Havoc absolutely is on there as well. They're not
Yeah.
all hero coded, or wreak terrible vengeance for all I have suffered. Also really great. Okay, so we have our sage then. Again, like you were saying, this kind of is a character creator game in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. So what does gameplay look like for Dawn of the
Yeah.
Orcs?
Um, so it's going to be very. It's very simple. So you go through each chapter, and each chapter of the game is a different battle of the war. And I use battle pretty loosely, right? Um, they in the same way that someone might refer to like the Battle of Britain, right? Was a not a bunch of people meeting in one time and place, but it was a decisive event of the war, right?
Hmm.
And at each stage of the war, you pick a strategy to use and you roll some dice to see if you win. And basically, if you do well, you get more things you can do to improve your orcs. And if you lose, you have fewer things. But no matter what, you still have some improvements you can make. And so the difficulty gets harder with each chapter, but your orcs get better as you've improved them. Now, if you've there's a little bit of tactics because you can never use the same strategy twice. So there's a little bit of gamesmanship in there. Again, you'll still have a good time if you lose every battle, as long as you're into sad stories. um, but yeah, there's a little bit of gamesmanship if you really want to win all the time. After you've played it once and you get there's basically 6 chapters laid up to play through normally as sort of the base game. And then if you've played through it once and you want to play it again and you want a little more variety, there's 4 sort of extra chapters at the end, which are a little more difficult and a little bit weirder, and you can kind of randomly swap those out, existing chapters. You also, as certain things happen in the game, as you hit certain points and stats, that kind of triggers you getting to add additional customs or additional beliefs to the orcs culture that they're developing. Oh, and you, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
And sort of the one other mechanic that I tossed in at the last minute, not quite the last minute, was betrayal. So if you ever, when you're you decide as a council how to there is one group of orcs you are all working together to build. There's one shared character sheet basically, or orc chronicle that you're all filling out.
Mm-hmm.
So usually a lot of the time people don't even bother voting because everyone will just be on the same page. But like if you're ever in disagreement, you vote about it. If you're tied, there's a narrator who can break ties. But if you're ever don't really like the decision that everyone else is making, everyone in the game gets one free betrayal that they can use, which basically says, okay, after that decision was made, but they were all of them betrayed, I secretly, instead of all the orcs worshiping a fire god, I decide they're all going to worship me. Mm-hmm. That's a really popular one, but that people like to do. So those are in, every player just gets one, and if you get a chain, they're resolved in order. So some games people don't, I've had people come up to me and say like, hey, I feel bad because you gave me a betrayal. I never used it in the game. We didn't backstab each other at all. And I'm like, that's okay. It's there as an option when you want it. You can use those, and some people really enjoy those moments.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm also a resource hoarder, so I might feel that way too. Like, oh man, I never used that betrayal the whole time. Okay, so reading through and seeing that you have what are they called? Warps and
twists.
Warps and twists.
Yeah.
So variety of like storylines that like the orcs can kind of follow down.
Warps and shifts.
Or yeah, warps and shifts. Thank you. So as the story kind of progresses and we kind of get to the end, then it looks like there are a lot of, shifts that the game can kind of take. There's a lot of heavier questions that are addressed by this. There's concepts of like what happens when the war ends and all of a sudden this previously peaceful society now has a standing army that they don't really want, and the orcs don't really want to be there. And that's one of my favorite kind of tropes in fiction is like the clone troopers, or there was another one I had literally like the Warforged in Eberron settings, where we made this thing specifically for war, and now we don't have war anymore, but they're also sentient. What are we going to do with them? We can't just scrap them like we would a tank. So I think there's some really cool heavy questions, because a lot of people can come to orcs just like, it's they're just monsters. They're just cannon fodder. And then what happens when they're not? What happens when they're not just the mindless villain? When it comes to gameplay itself, how many players typically sit at the table? Is this a game that can be played like as a solo game, a
Yeah.
one-on-one game, or like what does an average table look like?
So the fun thing about the way it works, so when I play tested it, I play tested it with groups of from I want to say 3 to 8. I actually did 8 people, including a couple people new to gaming, at a local like creators meetup in the basement of a library. So it was a loud room, and it worked. It worked really well. Because it is a sort of council table game. It's true that you can play this game with any number of people, because your mechanic is you are a council making decisions. So you can play it, and I didn't realize this until after I'd finished writing it, but you can play it solo without changing a single rule. You can just go, oh, I'm the chair of the council. What I say goes. I'm the only,
Hmm.
I'm the main character here. It's a faster game that way, but people have absolutely played it solo. I know there's been a couple streams. Himetsugi played it solo on their stream pretty recently. Um, I got to lurk in the chat for that, but you can play it solo. You can play it with 2 people. It gets in. I've played it with 2 people once, as like a demo game. That was kind of interesting. And yeah, you can get as long as like you can all hear each other. I'd love to see what happens if you make it like a 50-person game, because like you'd have to have some, you'd have to like, you'd have to have organization just for getting votes in and out, but it would become like
I
then
think you
build,
just
yeah,
recreated the
yeah,
U.S. Senate. Yeah,
yeah. You'd have to do Robert's Rules of Order or whatever to figure out,
absolutely.
but you still only have a limited number of choices, and yeah, that kind of council dynamic.
Yeah. So am I interpreting it right that it's a GM-less game or is like GM
Yes.
optional? Yeah.
It
Okay.
is completely GM-less. I didn't set out to make it this way, but it is very player friendly. Well, I don't want to say I didn't at all, but I always want to make things sort of reasonably player friendly. As I play tested the game, I realized that like you can hand this game to 6 people who have never played an RPG before. Tell them just read the pages and follow along. You don't need to read it ahead of time, and it works. Uh, like
That's
they'll
great.
have a good time because it pulls from that Frankenstein story is something we all, not everyone, but I'd say quite a lot of people know how that Frankenstein story goes, and know pretty well, and can follow along with that. And the rules are not complicated, and that also we're in a committee making decisions, but they're cool decisions because we're wizards.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it works. It's a very accessible game. It's like a weird concept, but it's actually accessible.
I love a low bar of entry too, because that's what a lot of people when they
Yeah.
come to new TTRPGs, especially folks that might have started like you with Call of Cthulhu or with Dungeons and Dragons, where you have to, or you people think you have to read this
Yeah.
tome just to have the bar of entry, but and then when they encounter new TTRPGs, it's like I don't have time to read all that. I
Yeah.
I don't have time to dedicate to learning a new game, and I've absolutely been that way. But I do like a game where it's like, no, just read it as you go.
Yeah.
It's gonna walk you through it. That's great. No pre-reading required.
Yeah.
Um, another thing I really want to shout out about the book itself, which looking at the PDF here is 54 pages,
Sure.
but they're very well designed. I actually really like the
Okay.
artwork that you put in it. There's one piece of artwork that I will recommend folks just checking out because it's a great party of like adventurers sitting around a
Oh
campfire
yes.
with a giant capybara with a saddle on it. I think that alone
Yeah.
is worth picking up the book. Who was the artist or
Yeah.
artists that
So a couple.
you got for this?
Yeah. So the couple are so Plasmaphage. Her name is on the cover,
Hmm.
right right below mine.
Hmm.
She is the sort of the lead, the visual designer. She did all the layout, and a lot of the art. Any art that you see that's not like credited to someone else is by her. Um, the cover art itself is by Simone Tometa. He is an Italian artist who's kind of well known as an OSR guy. So I found him just by looking at covers of other RPGs and seeing what would be good. And then some of the interior art was done by trying to see exactly how she wants to be credited. I got it here. Kira Ghost. You can find her on Instagram at Kira Kimura. She's just a friend who lived in the neighborhood. So Plasmaphage said, "Hey Lyme, I can do so much art, but I need another artist to do like a couple big splashes, so that we can get this out on time. I said, okay, let me look around. Can anyone kind of do this black and white style? And Kira, I really loved what she did. She had not done RPG art before, but she absolutely knocked it out of the park. So Plasmaphage is definitely still open to commissions right now for RPG or other artwork and layout design. She had a background doing like brochures for like nature trails, which translates really well because it's that same kind of informational but fun layout. And she is,
Mhm.
she also plays a lot of RPGs, so she's someone who will get what you're going for if you reach out to her.
That's great. It's very cool art. I really love the cover art. I love that it is very indicative of this. Maybe not even the
Yeah,
cover art it depicts them as being well intentioned, but very like scary wizard's
yeah,
order kind of
oh yeah,
with the looming eyes in the background.
yeah.
It's very good, and then the internal art's very good as well.
Fun story about those two red eyes, right? I
Yeah.
kind of knew this was going to be a thing, but biggest vanity decision of my life because that like 6 pixels of red ink means that every time I print this, I have to pay for color cover. But it's worth it because
Worth
they
it, yeah.
catch you. They meet your eyes on the shelf and they make you stop and look. I feel like if I say this too much, I'm going to curse the industry. But the quick tip to sell your game is have a pair of eyeballs looking straight out of the cover because humans stop and look back at things looking at them, and it.
It's true. Even on the thumbnail for any of the artwork that you're very gracious to send, it's the center of everything. It draws the eye, especially when everything else is grayscale or black and white. The red really does pop. It's great design work. Um, and so should have said a lot earlier, but I'll say it now. Dawn of the Orcs is available through your itch page,
Yes.
so you can get a copy right now, very reasonably. And I believe there's bonus content as
Yeah,
well.
so it's
Yeah,
available a lot of places, and there's a story
please,
to that
yeah,
bonus con. Yeah, so if you want to buy it online, go to the itch page. If you live in the U.S. and you want to buy a physical copy, either ask for it at your local game store or go to Indie Press Revolution. Indie Press will ship you a copy. If you don't live in the U.S., go to Peregrine Coast Press, and they will ship you a copy much cheaper than IPR will because that's how international shipping works. If you are a speaker of German, you can there is a German translation by Pro Indie that you can purchase from them. Um, and maybe other languages coming soon, we'll see. And then bonus content, yes. So there is an itch page with some other sort of things that didn't or shouldn't have made the final cut of the book. So there's a story there, which is that the book includes a full copy of the Orc Chronicle where you write in things. And basically, I did 2 print runs. I did a US print run for distribution in the US and a UK print run for rest of world distribution. I thought it was going to be UK print run for Europe distribution. Turns out it's cheaper to ship from the UK to anywhere on the planet, including Canada and Mexico, than to ship from US to Canada and Mexico or anywhere else on the planet.
hmm
Um, except in the UK, Her Majesty's Revenue Service. So generally speaking, books are not taxed, and they don't. Oh, well, I don't say they're not taxed, but you don't have to pay customs to ship books
hmm
because countries generally want, books full of learning and education coming in, mostly. However, um, because there was a certain amount of blank space for people to write things in the book, under UK law, it no longer counted as a book. It counted as like stationery or a non-children's workbook or an adult workbook, right? So children's workbooks are okay. Those can stay tariff exempt.
Okay.
But if it's for adults and you write stuff in, no, that's you gotta pay a tariff. And that doesn't just add to the cost, it also means you have to do like reporting and do that paperwork of I have a non-zero VAT item, and it's going
Yeah.
to be distinct for every country you ship to. And Peregrine Coast did not want to deal with that, and I certainly didn't want to deal with it. I can't blame them. I would never. So I had to add another 15 pages, 15 or 8 pages, I think 8 pages of just text to the book to make it officially a book in the eyes of Her Majesty's Revenue Service. So there's some additional rule in the international version. There's some additional rules and there's some tables that kind of help you imagine like, well, maybe, what if Lonnie is described in very vague terms, there's nothing in there that says it can't be a spaceship, or or something, right? So there's a bunch of additional context. There's an essay on what orcs are and stuff, what orcs can
Hmm.
be. Um, that's that's the because I didn't want people in the US to just not get to read that stuff, even though I kind of wasn't part of my artistic vision to have those extra pages in the book.
Yeah. Did I see that the German version is called Orkdämmerung?
Yes, it is. Ork which is
I
uh, people have told me I probably should have used that as the title all along. It might
It's
have.
very good. So the reason I really like that, and I love German because it is a very orcish language. It sounds,
Yes. Oh yeah.
yeah. Because Tolkien did pull from German and I think Hungarian when he was making Black speech to really differentiate it
Yeah.
from Elvish. But the thing I love about German is it can portmanteau any two
Yeah.
words together if they don't exist. But Dämmerung is also a very interesting word because it means both dawn or like dusk. It's twilight.
Yes.
So it has
Yes.
that double nature to it. It's the dawn of the orcs, but also the twilight of the orcs.
It is. Yeah.
And yeah, just in case you ever want to rebrand, it's a really good name for it.
Yeah.
It's very
And it,
evocative.
it
But
makes you
you're
think of like a big epic Wagner opera, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But
It's the
then
beginning and the end of them. Absolutely, much as the story can kind of be.
and also
Um,
I can joke that like technically you can translate it to Orc Twilight, for those who are
yeah,
those who are into that kind of thing.
or Orc Twilight. Yeah, that would
Yes.
I would watch Orc Twilight. I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just changed nothing else about it.
Yeah. I saw a
Um,
post saying that's going to be the new trend in romantasy is orcs. It's coming.
it's been around for a while as someone who is weirdly exposed to a lot of monster smut. There's a large orc community already out
Yeah.
there. I don't know if it's ever going to be as mainstream as vampires, but we'll see. There actually was a horror movie to tangential slightly off of that, which did feature like Tolkien-esque orcs in a slasher, which was actually
Oh
pretty
yeah.
entertaining. I'm not sure if you ever got a chance to see that. It's
What
like
was
if
it
orcs
called?
popped out in a national park. I think it actually was just called Orcs. It's
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty good. Just if anybody's looking for more orc media out there, there's no shortage of it.
I mean, any kind of
Um,
like Morlocky story, right, is also doing that same thing.
yeah,
People who are like
absolutely.
kind of technologically advanced, but gribbly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the you can have orcs and not call them orcs. You
Yeah.
can look at Firefly and call them Reavers. You can go into Warhammer and make them this weird like belief-based thing. But like at the end of the day, if you have this horde of creatures that are presumed to be mindless but are like essentially made for war, but exist beyond war, you've made an orc. You've made a Tolkien orc
Yeah.
essentially. And I think that's a really cool trope about them, and where they fit so firmly into fantasy and now even sci-fi, and they have this corner that they're really not looking to give up. Not that they should. Um, Dawn of the Orcs is a really cool game. It is available on, like I said, not only just on your itch, many other places as well. Physical copies available in the U.S. and abroad. Um, for people that might be getting into Dawn of the Orcs for the first time,
Yeah.
sitting down at their table, creating their council of wizards and scholars and everything else, what's one piece of advice you would offer
Yeah.
for a table playing this for the first time?
I would say don't be afraid to imagine, don't be afraid to break out of a generic fantasy mold. So I very intentionally don't describe too many things. And it uses sort of it uses sort of a mythic language, right? As of someone telling you like a creation myth or a creation story. But like I said, the countries this is happening in, this could be a space station, it could be the 1920s. It could, right? Um, this sort of basic folkloric language can be taken as metaphor or interpreted however you want.
I really love that because yeah, it's not just maybe it's not magic, maybe it is science, maybe it's science fiction, maybe it's something else, but you are creating this machine that is more meat than machine. And to quote Nurukai, meat's back on the menu. So
Yeah.
I think it's great. Um, Lyme, for thank you so much for
Thank you.
bringing Dawn of the Orcs to our attention. I'm hoping to create a council very soon
Nice.
because I would love to create an orc army and play through this. I love the ease
Yeah.
of access to it. I love the underlying tone to it can be, I mean, surface level. Let's
Yeah.
let's make an army. Deeper than that, though, it's the implications of it, and that doesn't mean it has to be like super deadly serious or anything like that.
Right.
But it does ask those questions, which I think are really great to ask at a table. Um, where can people find more of your work? Where can we find
Yeah.
more of Dawn of the Orcs? And anything you'd like to plug?
Cool. So you can find my work on the itch page. You're just gonna Google Lyme itch.io anyway, so I don't probably shouldn't bother. Um, it's lymetime.itch.io because I guess Lyme was taken by someone who has never published a
Gotcha.
game. lymetime.itch.io. And there's a link tree on there. I also have a Blue Sky. I think I'm Lyme RPG on Blue Sky. And I've got a blog
Hmm.
called Brackish Draft that I publish things on occasionally. I'm not like the world's greatest or most hardcore blogger, but I'll, if I have something that seems interesting, I'll post it there. I've got a Discord. If you're really hardcore, you can definitely hit me up. I'm also in like 99 other Discords because that's the limit, so you can find me around. Other stuff I'm working on right now. So I just pretty recently put out a game called Fear and Panic, which is my take on it's my take on getting that kind of horror role-playing experience that I've had a great time at a round table using games like Call of Cthulhu or Delta Green, but building the rules that will make the game I want to play. It's the game that I like running around my table when I do horror. So it's still a D100 system. It's still got a big, long skill list. You can pretty much run whether you're running Mothership. If you grab an adventure from Mothership or Eclipse Phase or Delta Green or uh, even like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay or Dark Heresy, you can grab all those D100 systems and run stuff in them pretty easily. And then the big differences are there's no more hit point and turn-based combat. It's just one opposed roll. So combat's very fast and deadly. There's no like stop the game and break the tension. And then instead of characters going insane, which punishes the character but also the player, because in most games with sanity systems, the player has to stop and it usually ends up being something like, well, your character is passed out or seeing things and they don't get to take a turn or they don't get to be in the scene, right?
Yeah.
And that's no good because we're all there to play. So instead, you gain points of fear, which are for going and seeing scary things. It's a meta currency, and you can spend those points of fear on reroll. So you need them to survive the deadly combat, and you can spend them on clues and useful stuff. So you have an incentive in the rules as a player to go into the basement, read the book, poke the thing, get up close to the monster and see what's going on. And so it's also a pretty quick read. I want to say it's like 40 something pages and pretty much a full horror system you can use to run any of the like tens of thousands of published horror adventures that are out there. So there's a small number of those available through IPR in physical form. You can also just get it off itch.
Awesome. Definitely check all of those places, check all those things out. That sounds like a really great system. I also agree that the whole like, well, no, your mind broke, you can't play anymore.
Yeah.
Like I've always hated that. So I love the subversion of that. But in addition to all of that, check out Dawn of the Orcs. Get your friends together or play solo, build your orc army, make them bigger, make them smaller,
Yes.
indoctrinate them, educate them, then deal with the consequences. It's a very fun game. It's got some great artwork in it, great page layout, and is incredibly reasonable in
Oh.
price for what you're getting.
I'm gonna raise the price soon, by the way.
Still, even then, when we deal with $50
Yeah.
books or more than that,
Oh yeah.
support your TTRPG creators
Oh
is
yeah.
how they get to create more stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
If you get a physical copy of it, which you don't have to, but it is printed on 100% recycled paper.
amazing,
So yeah.
love it. Yeah, everything you need is going to be in the digital format or in the physical format. So do yourself a favor, check it out. Bring it to your table. It's something that you can play as a one shot, as a mini campaign. It's something you can incorporate with other games to build a world. It's got a lot of versatility to it. So check out Dawn of the Orcs. Check out all of Lyme's other creations. For myself, for Sword and Tea and Sword and Key, thank you so much for joining us for another Sword and Tea. This is our TTRPG chat show. We talk with wonderful people in the TTRPG space about the stuff they make and how they make the space more wonderful by them just being there. So, if you yourself would ever like to be chatting here with me on Sword and Tea, if you'd ever like to be a guest here, you can always send us an email. You can find that on our beacons. Beacons.ai/Sword and Key has all of our links. Again, I am Derek Sword. I have been your host. I am the Sword half of Sword and Key because Sword is my real last name. Yes, it's awesome. No, you can't have it. Again, check out beacons.ai/Sword and Key for all of our links. We have our socials up at the top. It's Blue Sky and Instagram. We also have links to our Discord. Our Discord's a great place to be, especially now as we have a game application that is live. You can see it on all of our socials as well, but our applications always do go out first on our Discord. So the Discord's had a couple of days to take a look at it. Not that that gets them, anywhere faster than you, but it's still a great place to be there first. So if you've ever want to play in a game of Invisible Sun, the Monty Cook game, it's a very interesting, surreal world. I would hesitate to even call it a world, actually. But it is going to be a long-term campaign streamed here on Sword and Key, starting probably in the new year. But the application is going to be out until November 8th. So don't wait. Check it out if you ever want to play in a game of Invisible Sun, or if you ever want to play in a game on this channel. It's going to be pretty cool. So that's the big thing. That is also posted on our beacons, so you can check it out there, socials, or the Discord. Also on Beacons, you can find links to some of our charitable organizations. Again, we have some that current games are in support of, like World Central Kitchen and Trans Lifeline. We also have some evergreen ones like Canine Campaigns for Dependents and Palestine Children's Relief Fund. We also on our Beacons have links to some of our affiliates. We have affiliateships with Hit Point Press. They make the Humblewood book series and plush and music and tons of other stuff, and as well as the Anibid spell cards, Islands of Sina Una, the Griffin Saddleback books. They have tons and tons of things there. Miniatures, STL, just really anything you would ever want or need for a TTRPG game. So use our affiliate link if you're going to be purchasing from them. We're also affiliates with Long Dog Dice. Jen with Long Dog Dice makes incredible dice sets. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. You're guaranteed to find your perfect dice set. We actually have an official Sword and Key dice set that Jen has been wonderful enough to make, including now dice sets for all of our Sword and Key characters on Horizon's Call, which is our Saturday game, our nautical game. The D6 actually does have the Sword and Key logo on it. They're very vibrant blue with little flecks of copper in them. They're gorgeous. So you can pre-order those and if the other dice sets, or if nothing there is striking your fancy 100%, Jen does have forms open for custom sets as well. If you're going to be purchasing anything, use code Sword and Key for 10% off your first purchase. If you are going to be getting minis at all, especially custom minis, check out Eldritch Foundry. They make custom minis. No matter how weird and wild and normal and mild your TTRPG character might be, you can use code Sword and Key for 10% off your first purchase of a miniature, or if you use a 3D printer and want an STL license for a really decent price, they have a $19.99 deal for 3 months using our affiliate link. So check that out. Other stuff, the podcast Monster Crush, which I do with my friend LD, where we talk about cryptid creatures, miscellaneous monsters from myth, and how smoochable they are, is going to have a new episode out tomorrow. So check that out wherever podcasts are found, and you can find all the links on the beacons as well. That is an episode about Frankenstein's monster, which is why that was top of mind. So just in time for Halloween, we're talking about the creature, the fiend, the vile insect, all of the horrible things that poor creature is referenced as in the book, but also why he deserves love. So check that out. And then, yeah, all of the links, everything else is on the beacons. Looking at our calendar real quick here. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, we have episode 2 of Nightmares on the Frontier. That game is in support of World Central Kitchen. That is our Forged in the Dark game, where we are playing in an Eldritch, I would say like angelic Eldritch, Western, like Old West fantasy setting. It's pretty great. We've got a great cast in that. I'm part of it. I'm a little biased. At 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, we have Anik and Eva's Chaotic Playthrough. The last one for a little while, where they will be playing Mars Colony. So check that out. Again, Monster Crush coming out tomorrow as well. On Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we have Summer in Carcosa. It's the next in our Monster Hearts 2 series, where our players are monstrous camp counselors, all trying to solve mysteries and find love. On Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, we have the return of Gate Night, where LD Shadow and I play Baldur's Gate 3. On Thursday the 30th, we have the premiere of Zenith 3000. Zenith was a fantasy game that was run a number of months back by the wonderful GM Alex. This will be a variant of that where they are 3,000 years in the future, past the fantasy setting, taking that fantasy setting into cyberpunk, but within the same city and world. So that will be 5:15 p.m. Pacific time on Thursdays. Friday, Halloween, at 3 p.m. Pacific time, we have our next Sword and Key movie night. Typically, we do those at 6 p.m. We're going to be doing a full marathon of the Fear Street trilogy, so we'll be starting at 3 p.m. So check that out. And then a week from today, on November 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we have our next Sword and Tea, where we're talking with Jordan Richer, who is the creator of Shift, the new TTRPG from Hit Point Press. That is a pre-recorded chat, so check that out. And definitely, if you have questions, post those in our Discord. Horizons Call will also be back next Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time after our little hiatus. So you can catch the adventures of our nautical pirates and see all of the horrible things they get into as they're delving into a world of undead. More stuff is on the calendar. Like I said, our application is out right now for Invisible Sun. We will also have applications out in the near future for our December campaign for Project Hopemas, where we will be raising money for them. So probably some one-shots, maybe some two-shots included all throughout the month of December. So keep an eye out for that. Again, thank you so much to Lyme for joining us. Thank you to you for joining us. Again, if you're watching this later on YouTube and you have questions, please post them in the Sword and Key Discord. Until we see you next time, hopefully sooner rather than later, take care of yourselves, take care of others, and enjoy your day.